All right. As you can tell, I can't hide him, and I don't want to hide him because I told him he's like anti-aging. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to find him out. Both of us are out here in the Los Angeles area. So I've already asked my friend Matt Magaña, who obviously you've seen some of our stuff. He's a part of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, but also breath work, also a marathoner, also just a good dude, just also my brother, also a Mission One race. I mean, really second to me. He's run the most miles in Mission One race, the Journey 2020. And only second to me because my crazy butt, I've taken on 2 years. But this man did a day and a half, and like I would not have completed it without him. So I just want to start off with that. That we're here in support of 8 Days to Choose for the second annual. Think about that. And we've made some nuances. One of the main things you see is we're tightening up the conversation. So stay with us, but we're really getting the same impact out of them. And the first thing I want to do is say, welcome. I'm Richard Relaford, AKA Rich Rel, the president and founder of Mission One Race, where we say we are uniquely the same. And we say that we can transform, we should transform. We believe in justice, we believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, but we know that it's an individual journey and path. It's an institutional path, right? And so it's both self as well as the things and areas of influence. And we got to go on different journeys. So we create content, we have curriculum, we have collaborations, and we definitely stay focused on the fact that we have to journey emotionally, cognitively, experientially together through our activities, and then together, like we're better together. So what we're doing is we started off saying happy birthday, United States of America. For the second year in a row, we treated this day, July 4th, just a day ago, as a birthday slash a fresh new year to be all you can be, if you will, to be what we say, right? The United States of love, not hate, right? Where we really believe all men and women are created equally, that we all have the right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, right? And in that is our health. In that is our life and day to day. So day one, we hit on understand. It's our first principle. So you're learning a lot in a concise way, and you can dig deeper with us as we move forward. But your to-do item, our action item for understand was in the middle of whatever conversation. It could be basic and or deep. And I'm not just talking family, I'm talking people day to day. We cannot do this life without each other. There's so many of us that support each other behind the scenes and in front of our lives. So in those conversations, when you got 5 more things to say, for me too, stop talking and listen, double down on listening. Because we found out that understanding is a place for humility. And then if we listen, 3 to 1, maybe listen a little bit more to each other, we might grow and relate. So I want you to take a moment and be honest with yourself. Did you listen a bit more? I feel like I did. And as you all know, I do like to talk. And I feel like it's not a bad thing. It's somewhat of a gift for me because when I speak with a passion that I really want to improve as a human being and leave a positive mark on this world. But I did do that. And it was specifically, believe it or not, during the session and the time I had with Bishop Vincent Matthews there at his church in Mississippi, where there was a number of people who came up to say thank you and kind of and talk to me as I shared there. And I really got some nuggets and really grew with some things that are going to affect and change my life. So I would say that's a good call to action. We'll have a new call to action for you today. We're leaning into forgive. And it gets sticky almost immediately because people can take that so many ways. You're like, forgive. You don't know what that person did to me. And we immediately kind of go relational, right? We get Matt's probably thinking too, like, when I invited him into the space, he's like, man, I've got a list of people that it might be hard to forgive with the way they've done me or for them to forgive me. And I'm not talking necessarily about that. We're talking about really in our day-to-day lives, in our communities, maybe the text or two, maybe even a message. It might be a stranger. All the moments that we harbor a lot of things around, how important is forgiveness for us to really live a life and journey towards oneness? And we're gonna dig into that space. So we think about forgiveness. If you look at the definition, it talks about like removing the need for payback and for redemption and for vengeance. It's the opposite of a lot of movies that we like. Most of the movies are like, man, you did that, I'm gonna spend a lifetime of making you feel the pain. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I enjoy those movies sometimes as well, right? We feel like that's right. But really, that's destructive. Like we could if it's eye for an eye and all that going on, when does it stop? When do you stop taking score, not removing the responsibility, or not even say that we need to change and transfer stuff, but when do we stop taking score? So all of that's a long introduction. I didn't bring Matt here to just look cool, which is already doing that. I want him to lean in, and we're going to lean in and then lean out quickly. And I spoke about a couple of things, and they can dig in deeper about, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and or your breath work. What I want to do is share. We'll have our team share places that they can connect with both of those areas later. But I really want to hear your heart around forgive. And I was grounded like this. How critical do you think, and this is not to be a deep physical, theoretical, or however deep or what space you want to go with it, is how critical is that to move forward? Let's use it in that concept, whether it's as a society, as a friendship, as a family, to move forward. How critical is forgiveness?
Wow, Rich. So thanks for having me. Of course, I'm so excited to be here again with Mission One Race and the strong foundation of what this organization is about. Um, and as you just covered, the many different aspects of it. At the end of the day, I think it really comes down to being the best people we can be individually, because we have to start with ourselves individually, just like you're still trying to do the work right now, listening, 3-to-1 listening as opposed to talking, forgiving, because unless we can be our best selves first, society, we can't worry about society if we're still not our best selves, right? So it was just super timely on a few levels that you brought me here to talk about forgiveness. And my first thought, and what I've been learning as I've been digging deep within myself these last couple of years, especially this last year, is that I have to forgive myself first and foremost.
Mm,
We can be our
that's good.
toughest critics. I know you're right along there with me. That self talk that we've talked about so many times. And what's so hard about the self talk is we're talking to ourselves, right? So it's just our talking to, in our head to ourselves. But once you can kind of become aware of that conversation and say, wow, okay, that was pretty harsh. I wouldn't talk to any of my friends or family that way. Why is it okay to talk to myself that way? When I started realizing that, I was like, okay, this is an issue. This is a big problem. Yeah, I need to stop and really take a look at this. And it's a process. But once you can realize that and say, you know what? I forgive myself. That's all right. I made a bad move. I messed up here. I didn't do enough research. I didn't prepare enough. Whatever it is, it's going to happen. We're human beings. As much as we want to be the best and be our best selves, be our highest selves, and do the best for others, the people we love, the people we care for, if we can't forgive ourselves, we're missing a big part of the puzzle. So I think the forgiveness starts with ourselves.
I'm literally gonna marinate for a second. And this is why it's so important. I could have done these talks and just talk. I know these principles. I know the information I want to share. I would have never come with that nuance right now. And you literally just gave a life hack to forgiveness. Because no, there's studies, therapists will tell you. I mean, listen, the word to, if you're a Christian, it'll tell you the greatest, the golden commandment, whether people are Christian or not, that we all have shared and know is very popular. Love God, right? Love your neighbor. We hear that. And we skip over really the whole statement is yes, love God. But it actually says love your neighbor as you love yourself. Most people miss that. Look, what you literally just said is not a faith statement. You're not trying to make a faith statement, but it's a
Right.
basic principle. If we do not know how to love, how to forgive, how to all those things in ourselves, we project that onto everyone else. We like immediately. So for even that nugget of like pausing, you even changed my challenge for this day of 8 days to choose. Because I think we're gonna lean into that. Now, I've got another question for you, but watch this. Can we forgive ourselves for the times that we've not been inclusive? Can we forgive ourselves of the times that we know we've been biased? Can we forgive ourselves in the times that we know we've fallen short and whatever, and specific to the context of our mission race, that we've been careless, that we haven't, right? Or that we've made mistakes. Because then that'll allow us to go, you know what? I'm human and they're human.
Right.
It's powerful.
Right.
So on the heels of that, and this is the playful part, I forgive you as well, Matt Magaña, because you know better. You know I'm Richard or Rich Rail, and you always you drop that Rich on me. And I'm just like, this is my brother. I love him. We've done miles and miles together. We've talked about this. I'm playing playful, but like honestly, it's what do I expect you to be like perfect and go in and say, hey, let me rehearse how to. But honestly, the old me would be caught up on that. I'm gonna be real, like the old me, like I used to live my life because there's a story behind it where a lot of people would ask me and say, hey, what do you want me to call? And I would tell them, and they would disregard it and like call me whatever they wanted to. And now on everyone else, watch this, because I haven't forgiven those people in the past, I assume that everyone else is doing the same thing. And people are just they're just making a mistake. They're like, oh, your name is Daniel, and I call you Dan. Your name is, like whatever. People do that in general. And for me, it can carry a heavier burden because of my past, not even in that situation. So watch this. If we continue on that space, and I am going to take you to the space because I know you've been doing this work, and I remember us talking about it during the run, Bob. Remember that during mission race, during day 5, mile 200 and whatever I was at, that you were running with me to help close things out. And you were talking about potentially being called and feeling led to start leading folks right through yourself. You were being led by a powerful leader in that space around breath work. And I want to ask you specifically, not specifically, generically, whatever you say, do you see a tie-in even to what you just said, to where the space in that breath work? I mean, think about it. The most fundamental thing we do is breathe.
Right.
and for you to say, hey, have we thought about how we're breathing? Can really, I feel like there's a tie-in, maybe you can connect the dots, to even the fact that forgiveness is so much more about us than the other person, right? Forgiveness in its definition does not depend on whether or not that person deserves the forgiveness or not, or is going to reciprocate it or anything else, or own it, right? Or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe make that connect. Is there a connect?
As in typical Rich Rel fashion, that's it, right? Rich Rel, I'm getting it right. No, I want to make sure, because it's so funny because I remember you did say that, and I just totally didn't even realize it.
It's not a big thing, but it was perfect timing for this session.
But that's high awareness on your end to know that because you didn't forgive those other people in your past, that it still shows up. Because see, this stuff doesn't leave us. It's still within us. Our body tries to protect us, and so it holds on to all this trauma, these emotional blockages. It just is really good at burying them really deep. So unless
you just help me with that. Is that part of kind of the reflective work of breath work in itself? Yeah. I don't know. I haven't done it before. I need to come in. I just been, my schedule has clashed when it was available. But I'm gonna make it there. So kind of what's the connection there?
First, I would just say breathwork is made for people like you and the people of Mission One Race who are doing this work on themselves. People in the mental health space, people like Mission One Race, the people that are aware and want to be their best selves. Breathwork is made for us. And that's why it resonated with me so much too. But like you said, you did mention it in our quick chat before too. And I had a chat this morning with a good friend of mine on the way to the airport. I just flew in from the East Coast today. We can only control how we react to a situation. We can't control anything else, right? Mm-hmm. And so if we start from there, you're going to run into people during the day, like you said, that are just rude, that are just for no reason. And you're like, and I'm a very feeling person, so I'll feel that, and I love connection. I love getting positive with people, and it lights me up. But on the opposite side of that, if somebody comes at me negative, then I'm going to put up the wall and I'm going to throw it back and I'm going to do that. But I've come to realize too and say, hey, you know what? Something's going on with them. Never judge people without knowing their story. Everybody's going through something we don't know about, right? So it's within our power to forgive ourselves first and foremost. So then we can say, hey, you know what? That lady was rude to me. Yeah, she was. But I'm not going to make the situation better by being rude back to her. I'm just going to say, okay, sorry you feel that way or whatever, and hold a safe healing space for her so that she can do that. But I'm not going to exacerbate the problem by doubling down, right? Like we used to do
Yeah.
when our
Yeah.
egos were first and foremost. So really quickly, what I'll say with forgiveness and the breath work and the whole tie-in, this is so timely. So I started doing this specific breath work about a year ago. And the second session I ever did, we did what we call inner child work, which is pretty heavy
Mm.
stuff. So my mentor led us through a session where my 5-year-old self went to my family house when I was that age, met my
Wow.
parent, talked to my parents, and I didn't grow up with my dad. He wasn't around. But she had dads tell us that, hey, I'm proud of you. And Rich, that was the most transcendental, powerful experience I've ever had in my life. I saw myself from like a neutral perspective and just this literally decades old blockage of not thinking I needed my dad around and just thinking, hey, that's how I was. I'm fine. My mom was great. As males, we need that male presence up. And so when she ran us through that exercise, so much emotion was just released from me in that one instance. Crying, I mean, just weight off my shoulders. I could see it just like leaving.
So
I hadn't
powerful.
addressed it for decades, 35 years, and it all came out. And I was like, I don't know what just happened, but I guess I needed my dad to tell me he was proud of me. So
Right.
that's news to me. So I had done a couple more sessions like that where we do visualization, we drop in, and
Yes.
what we're basically doing is quieting our thinking conscious mind, the one that's on all day, being logical thinking. We're just quieting that down, giving it a break, going down to the subconscious, where creativity is, where flow state is, where all the emotional stuff is, where all the trauma is. Also, where intuition is, though, right?
Hmm.
So I did a couple sessions where I kind of saw him again when I was young, and they were all very touching, very powerful. Again, I didn't grow up with him. Saw him about 10 years ago, and he had early onset dementia.
Wow.
And that was rough because I remember him very clearly as regular, but then I saw him with dementia, and it had started to take hold, and he was like in his early 50s. Fast forward, haven't seen him in about 10 years. A relative of mine reaches out on Facebook, and from that side of the family, send me a bunch of family pictures, bunch of information I've never known in my whole life that I've wanted to know. Says, hey, one of our uncles is in touch with your dad. He's visiting him. And I was like, oh, okay. And for me, I'm like, ah, it's just
Right.
heavy. I know it's just gonna. I'm like, oh God,
Right.
so much going on. But my intuition, my my inner wisdom, I guess you can call it, whatever. Deep down, I knew I need to go see
Right.
him. So I went and saw him the day before Father's Day for the first time in 11 years. He was in a home. He couldn't talk, so we basically communicated through touch. Through I talked to him when I was sharing this experience with my mentor. um, I told her I forgave him a long time ago,
Mm.
and I saw myself as the healer in this. He needed me. I needed to do it for myself, but he needed to see me too. And although we didn't verbalize that, I could see it in his eyes. And she said, "Wait a minute, you just kind of glossed over something that was like life changing. You said you forgave your dad. Sorry,
It's
somebody who
okay.
wasn't there for you your whole life, and you forgave him." She goes, "That's fucking powerful." I'm sorry, excuse my language.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's very powerful stuff. And I said, "Yeah, I guess you're right." So I say all this just to say forgiveness is one of the most powerful gifts that we have. That once we open ourselves up to it, um, it's freeing. It really is freeing um, to not hold that grudge against somebody or hold that hate, even if you're justified. You have to find it within yourself on some level to be mad at that person. That's totally fine. But you have to, in some way, shape, or form, forgive them. And you know what I came to realize is, yeah, he wasn't the best dad. He wasn't around for me or my sister, but he didn't have a supportive environment when he grew up. He had 14 brothers and sisters, four different dads, no male figure in the house. So where does that leave him? Not in a very good spot to be a good dad. So we're talking generational trauma here.
Man,
And so my ability to forgive him is not just for me and him, it's beyond that because it's been coming down generations. So that's
let
how
me.
powerful forgiveness is.
We have we could have gone. First of all, I'm mad at you a little bit for even holding back. So you know this is a safe space.
Yep.
And by you going there and by you even empowering me to be able to tell my journey and story around depression and some of the thoughts and the energy I have, like I've seen so many ripples of people past, I should say, but I'm still constantly about it. People as recently as this past weekend
Wow.
being freed from that you saying this right now for folks that are going to view this specifically with parental child type of burdens. And I can attest to the fact that I could tell that you really have forgiven them because the kind of man and friend and gentle and caring spirit that you are is you stopped that generational repeat of being absentee or whatever was happening just from me knowing you. I would have never known that, but I know it to be true. So I would say this, and as we close here, if it's that level that this man is able to lead out and forgive, and I could it just resonate with it. How much more so can we forgive a word or two, some stupidity, some rudeness, right? We will be creating some specific curriculum around after the hate, if you will. Right now is a naming process to where I've experienced it, where it's more potent trauma, where there's actually physical or emotional or not indirect, not microaggressions, because there obviously is work that needs to be done. There's a lot more than just a choice inside at times, but all of it is possible from intern for family to us as human beings around each other, but it's necessary. So we are landing the plane here on this next day as American citizens and as citizens of the world, right? We are imperfect. Forgive ourselves, right? Forgive those in our family and our circle of proximity, but definitely forgive those that we don't even know their whole story, how they even got there at that moment. That does not remove it. That does not say we don't need to make tangible change. We believe in the both and here with Mission Race in terms of individuals, institutional issues, systemic and systematic issues, all of it. But man, how powerful when each one of us owns our piece of it, because none of us have arrived at perfect oneness, right? So here's the challenge. Matthew Magaña, thank you for being here with it. The challenge, he put it in himself. I thought I was going to make the challenge external, is actually an internal challenge this week. What things are we harboring with ourselves? Sounds like it's not related, but it is, that we are holding ourselves to a level that's a perfection around this conversation or others, that's actually blocking our ability to give that grace and that forgiveness to others. So we're going to check in on that tomorrow. I am so pumped up for this conversation. We could go over. Matt knows, and we've had longer talks in the past, and we'll have more in the future. Again, shout out to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. If you are in any place struggling with those thoughts, with those moments, please reach out. That's what I would say. I mean, the song that's coming out soon that you guys will hear about is "The Sun's Going to Shine Forever." The sun be there tomorrow. So don't let the night moment that you're feeling be your final word. Like tomorrow, the sun's coming out, and there's hope in that, right? And there's people that care about you, that love you, right? And then we all need forgiveness. So let's forgive ourselves and continue to understand. And I'm going to say this. This is 8 days to choose, day 2. We have 6 more days to go. We're all going to grow there. Thank you so much, Matthew Magaña. I feel like you want to say have the closing word, my brother. Go for it.
Yeah, please, real quick. Thanks so much for having me. We, like you said, we could talk for hours on this because I know you go deep with it too. And so again, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be part of Mission One, and I think of those miles that we did together very frequently. Doing the 30-mile finish up into Santa Barbara was unreal, and unless you were there or watching us, it's hard to really put that into words. So it was special. But when I first found out that you wanted to bring me on and talk about forgiveness, I automatically thought about vulnerability and how you embody both of those and have done that as the leader of Mission One Race, as a supporter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, in being forthcoming with your struggles, and obviously as a man in America, in the United States of America, as a man of color in the United States of America. I mean, the deck is stacked against you to be that vulnerable, forgiving person, but you embody that every day. And so I just wanted to make sure you see that too, because it's very easy to overlook what we do, right? And so that's another thing that I try to remind folks is don't forget to look back and see how far we've come individually, because we get so caught up in what everything we got to do to get ahead tomorrow and that growth mindset, which is where we want to be. But sometimes it's easy to overlook our own growth and progress. And I think that's part of the forgiveness for ourselves, right? In the fact that we overlook our own progress and how far we've come. And you embody that. And so I just want to remind you that you're here doing it still. And I'm honored to be a part of this family. So thank you for everything.
That was exactly the way it was supposed to end. I got nothing else to say. Matt Magaña. I'm embodying understanding by listening more, and I received that fully. Thank you. And thank you for me sensing that you wanted to leave that. That's all I have to say, man. Peace and love. In the name of
Absolutely.
love, mission, and oneness. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.